Okay, so you know how you flagged all that stuff for us about ethics for teachers and all?
Uh-huh.
Well, we're going to do a deep dive today into something called the Model Code of Ethics for Educators,
Okay.
or MCEE. And this is from the National Association of State Directors of Teacher Education and Certification,
Right.
NASDTEC.
Yes, very important organization for setting standards in teacher preparation.
And one of the first things that you notice when you go to their website is that they've got this second edition of the MCEE, and it's like right there,
Yeah,
free download.
absolutely. And, I think that says a lot right off the bat about how important they think this is.
Exactly.
Making it so accessible, like removing any barriers for people to, get this information.
And it shows like a real commitment to spreading ethical awareness,
For sure. For
you know,
sure.
across the board.
Yeah.
And it's not just a PDF. They've also got printed brochures of the MCEE,
Oh, wow.
and they come in packs of 50 or 200,
Okay.
and they only charge for shipping and handling.
So, that's interesting because you can really start to imagine, places like using these, schools or, in workshops.
Oh, yeah, districts.
Yeah.
Districts,
Right, for new
exactly.
teacher orientations.
Exactly. Or, just having them around,
Yeah.
as like a handy reference.
Right.
So it's really interesting that they, are going beyond just digital
Yeah.
to like actually having these physical copies.
And for anyone who's wondering, how these guidelines have kind of changed over time,
Uh-huh.
NASDTEC also gives you a document where they compare the first and second editions.
Oh, cool.
So it's not like this is just, one set of rules that never changes.
Right.
It's something that they're, looking at and updating.
Yeah. I mean, think about how much the world of education has changed even just in the last few years.
Totally.
Like all of the technology now.
Yeah.
So much is happening online. The way teachers interact with students with each other,
Right.
it's all so different.
Right.
So it makes sense that they would update the code, Exactly.
Maybe they're addressing things like online privacy or, how to use digital tools ethically.
Now, when it comes to actually using these materials,
Yeah.
NASDTEC is very clear.
Okay.
They say that any educational agency or institution, they can reproduce the model code.
Got it.
They can use it for advising, they can use it for discussions, and they can even use it to make their own local guidelines or policies.
Wow. So they're really giving a lot of freedom to the education community.
I mean, it's a huge amount of trust.
It is.
They're basically empowering people to take this national model
Yeah.
and adapt it to their own specific situations.
Right. It's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's
Right.
more like, here's a strong foundation.
Right.
Now go and make it work for you.
But they do say that if you want to use it commercially
Yeah.
or distribute it outside of education, you have to get their written permission.
Okay.
And no matter how you use it, you have to credit NASDTEC.
Makes sense.
It's about balance, isn't it?
It is, they obviously want people to use it. They
Yeah.
want it to have a big impact,
Right.
but they're also protecting their work.
Right.
They created it. They want to make sure it's used correctly.
It shows how much thought they've put into not just what the code says, but
Right.
also how it gets out there and how people use it.
Exactly. It's the whole package.
So basically, this model code of ethics for educators is a big deal.
It is. It's very comprehensive.
Yeah, it's NASDTEC's attempt to lay out this framework
Uh-huh.
for ethical conduct in the education profession
Yes, and they've made it so easy to get a hold of
and to talk about.
and to use it.
Yeah, and even build on
Yeah.
for your own needs.
Yeah. And even build on,
Yeah.
for your own needs.
I think the fact that they offer those printed brochures
Yeah.
in bulk,
Mm-hmm.
for a low cost,
Yeah.
it really shows that they're serious about ethics in education.
Yeah.
It's not just something you read on your computer and forget about.
Right.
They want people to really engage with it,
Right.
talk about it with each other,
Yeah.
make it part of their everyday work.
Mm.
So thinking about all this,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, what could be the impact of having this kind of national model code,
Yeah.
in different educational settings?
It's an interesting question, because our education system is so diverse.
So decentralized.
Yeah.
All these different states, districts.
Right, right. So having this kind of shared document,
Yeah.
could really help to create a more unified understanding of what's expected of educators ethically.
But even with this model code, all spelled out,
Mm-hmm.
how do you make sure that ethical practices are actually consistent,
Right.
across all the different types of schools?
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it?
It is, and it's a huge field.
It is huge.
So many different types of institutions.
I think having the MCEE is a really important step.
It is.
But the real work is in figuring out how to actually put these principles into practice.
Right.
How to support educators so that they don't just know the code, but they really live it.
And how to create a culture where ethics is always at the forefront.
Absolutely.
Well, it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, a lot to consider, for sure.
Thanks for this deep dive.
My pleasure.
It's been really insightful.
Glad to hear it.
All right, that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
See ya.
See you next time.
Bye.